Hello, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, everyone. So we are here. Welcome to Connect Africa. A bit late for us today, but still we decided to come here because a lot is happening. So just a second. Yeah. Hearing myself here, yeah, because a lot's happening. We cannot let it pass without analyzing it. Today we have updates on Niger, really quite significant, very important things that we need to look at. There are some changes in Niger. People are in and out. What are they doing there? It's important to unfold that. And then the second thing is we are going to bring you regarding the a deal that was made by the ousted president of Niger, between the ousted president of Niger and then Europe. Which is about a gas pipeline that goes from Nigeria to Europe, but which passes through Niger. I know that, so the deal should be actually with Nigeria, but it passes through Niger. So we are going to bring you those things. So to spill all the tea, to unfold and to have our own narrative, the African narrative, to give us that perspective, the Pan-Africanism perspective of the issues. Kwame is here. Welcome, Kwame.
Thank you, Mahlet. Greetings and regards to everyone who is with us on the channel. We appreciate you all. We are very, very appreciative of everyone who is out there supporting the channel and supporting the work which we are doing. You keep us going, you give us strength, and we work together because the continent of Africa is in a dire state, is an undesirable state, and for us to be able to build it, we have to work together as Africans. And that starts with what we have currently. We have certain tools which we have, and those tools are the ones which we are supposed to start with. So that is why we ask you that you support us, because currently we are employing every type of tool which we have, our intellect, our strength, and everything that we have as Africans to be able to fight for our continent, until it is liberated, until we reach a point where we can rebuild it and reconstruct it very quickly. So you have also to use the tools which you have in your hands to support us as we move forward, because not everyone can be on the front line. There's those people who will be on the front line, and there's other people who will be on the back supporting them. So we ask you that you play your part as we also play our part, and we can build that desirable continent for us all of us Africans on the continent and in the diaspora, the so-called African Americans, Caribbean, Barbados, Jamaica. All these are Africans from our understanding, from our point of view, because this is what our ancestors bequeathed us, like Kwame Nkrumah, who said that he's not an African because he was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in him. And we have seen that Africa is born in majority of the African people, of African descendants. If you go out there, you can see that really Africa exists in them. And many of them, they never forget, what Africa is. You can look at artists like Rihanna, you can see them wearing African map in their neck, Beyonce. So Africa is within them. So all these people, we take them as Africans. Now, today, as Mahlet mentioned, we want to talk about the updates in Niger. We want to talk about also the oil pipeline, which was signed by President Bazoum before he was overthrown. He signed this oil pipeline in 2022, which was last year, and that pipeline was supposed to take gas from Nigeria through Niger, and then it would go all the way to Algeria, where gas would be pumped to Europe. So we want to look at this. Could this be one of the reasons why they want to attack Niger and they are forcing themselves on Niger? And then, of course, we'll look at the United States strategy. How is it changing the strategy, looking at the fact that the coup leaders have insisted that we will not negotiate. and we want to understand why do they not want to negotiate. Do we have cases in history where our leaders have given into these negotiations and it has been catastrophic? And is this a good strategy? So these are all the things which we want to examine, and you want to be here until the end of the video because this is going to be very interesting. Thank you so much, Mahlet. Please take it over.
Thank you very much, Kwame. You indeed reminded me. You indeed reminded me of that last part. That what the US is trying to do because they did not give up hope. Okay, so let's start. Let's jump into this and start with the update in Niger. I really want you quickly to pass through them. There are like 2-3 things. For example, there is the acting secretary of state, of the US, who is Victoria Nuland, was in Niger, and she was rejected by the coup leader. So she did not meet the coup leaders, but their story in the mainstream ran out with saying, oh, like as if she met with the civil society organization or the Nigerians, something like that. That's what they covered. And then, so what is she doing there? And then we have seen also the governors of the states in Nigeria, like 7 of them, who are sharing borders with Niger, have met President Bola Tinubu because they oppose the war, or what Tinubu was trying to do through ECOWAS. I think they played a role for the Senate to decide that rejection, the proposal of Tinubu. We have seen also the one governor, one or emir of the Kano state in Nigeria have met the coup leaders in Niger, which is really interesting. Because this is something that, as you have been also advocating on this platform, this should have been done by Pan-Africanists, civil society organizations. We all, make noise and give our support, but these are, the groundworks that we need. That's interesting. So the 3 things, I hope I did not complicate it for you, but we really want them one by one. Victoria Nuland, she really do not have a good name. She's known as a mastermind of chaos in the world. And then those meeting of the governors with Tinubu, and then the emir meeting with the coup leaders, especially relating it with Pan-Africanists, not doing such a thing, and what would that create, for the enemies, this kind of gap. Yeah, please, back to you.
Thank you, Mahlet. Let me just get right into it immediately. Once again, I want to welcome everyone who's on the channel. We value you so much, and we thank you for supporting us and being part of us. That is very important, and I had to repeat it because you are the ones who have kept the channel going. So like what you are watching on the channel so that we can get those, likes up there, and then the algorithm will be able to really, suggest the channel to other people so that they can come and watch, and also share the channel, share the video, and invite other people to watch so that they can be part of this, because this is very important. Especially there's a part which Mahlet spoke about and said, should Pan-Africanism be the one at this point intervening when we have the ECOWAS, African Union, and the United Nations have lost credibility? Shouldn't Pan-Africanism be the one intervening? This is something, like Mahlet mentioned, which we have been advocating for on this channel. And these are the things actually which we are working on. But because of our resources, our current resources which we have, we are not able to push this as far, as we want it to go, and as quick as we want it to go. So that is why we are asking you people who are watching out there that you come out and support the work which we are doing, so that we could be dedicated, because this Pan-Africanism is a full-time job. the United States has dedicated a full Department of State, a state department, they are dedicated to pushing their hegemony across the world. So Pan-Africanism itself also has to have people who are dedicated to only the idea of unifying Africa and warding off the imperialists. But we currently do not have that. But right now, we have come on board, Connect Africa has come on board, and we need the support of everyone in order for us to be able to achieve. So we believe that Pan-Africanism should be able at this point to intervene when all the other groups are discredited and they are not wanted in Niger. Now, when we look at what has happened as a form of updates, what has happened in Niger, of course, including Nigeria in this situation, one of the things which we did not touch in the past days was that 7 governors from the northern states in Nigeria were able to meet President Tinubu, and they were able to have a dialogue with him. And of course, one of the major issues that they addressed was that they cannot afford to have an unstable, Niger, because they share a border with the Niger. Now, this means that if you start a war on Niger, that war is going to spill over in the northern states of Nigeria. So they opposed this. But of course, by the time they opposed this, the Senate itself had also opposed this, because these guys are also in the Senate. These governors are also in the Senate. So they were part of that group that rejected the proposal, which Tinubu had sent. He had sent a letter to the Senate in Nigeria for him to be able to carry out a war on Niger, to intervene. Of course, we all know, on behalf of France. Of course, they wanted to intervene together with Senegal and Ivory Coast. And we know that in Ivory Coast, there's a very big puppet over there who, was used even to destroy the ECO, which was supposed to be a currency that was supposed to unify, the whole of ECOWAS, the 14 countries. They were supposed to use the ECO and dump the French, CFA currency, which France is imposing on the African states, which are former colonies of this brutal colonizer called France. Now they met and they were able to rain on him, but that is after also rejecting his letter which he sent to the Nigerian Senate, and they were able to rain on him, and they were able to make it clear that they do not want this kind of instability in the region. And so we will see later how this is reflecting on the reaction, because we are going to see the current imperialist strategy, because they were pushing ECOWAS very much that it should be able to intervene in the war on their behalf. And we saw that the consequences of this intervention actually would be Africans killing fellow Africans, because as you have seen, Niger has said that it will not give in, it will fight. It will fight for their land and protect their land. And of course, Mali and Burkina, they also say they will back. So this means that if Algeria also adds itself, there's going to be a very dangerous clash on the African continent. And who's going to benefit? It is the imperialists who will benefit. How will he benefit? The imperialists people will be fighting a war for them. You see, they are the ones who are supposed to fight this war. Now, Africans will be the ones fighting a war for them. That is number one. Number two, while we are fighting, they will be stealing our resources. Number three, then they have a target of reducing Africa's population. We will be reducing the population for them. So they will be gaining in everything. Now, what we are seeing is that the governors were able, the governors of the northern state and even in the Senate, Nigerian Senate, were able to rein in on Tinubu and oppose him from carrying out, from starting this madness and carrying out this madness of a war in Niger, in which he wanted to attack Niger, which was going to be, of course, catastrophic for everyone, not only in the region but even across the African continent. It was going to be very catastrophic. Now, the imperialists, of course, have reacted in a different way about it, and they are looking at different strategies on how to approach it, because they are losing a lot in Niger. They have been stealing, and actually they are even stealing things which they are not telling us. Those are the things which are driving them right now, that you are seeing that they are desperate. There is so much at stake right now in Niger. That is why they are reacting the way they are reacting. Now, on the other side, while that happened, after that happened, we saw that because actually this event, the next event as an update happened, whereby Victoria Nuland, who is the acting Deputy Secretary of State of the United States, this woman went secretly into Niger. She secretly went into Niger, but because they had blocked the airspace in Niger, she was able to pass through Libya via the land. She was driven on land from Libya, and she went into Niger. But this woman, she's not new to us as Pan-Africanists. This is a very dangerous woman. Historically, she's worked with the NED, an organization, so-called NGO called NED, National Endowment for Democracy. It is not democracy, actually. If you want, you can call it National Endowment for Brutality, because that is what the United States is known for. This organization, she worked in it. She worked in the government of George Bush. She served under Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney, who was a very murderous man, very unapologetically brutal. They killed a lot of people in Iraq and Afghanistan. We remember him during the regime of George W. Bush. He was the vice president. Victoria Nuland was an advisor, security advisor to this brutal man who killed a lot of people, 1 million people in Iraq. So this is the woman, the same woman that currently has been promoted to be Deputy Secretary of State. Now, that is not all. The killing, as if the killings in Iraq and Afghanistan were not enough, this woman also participated in the coup that happened in Ukraine, in overthrowing a democratically elected government in Ukraine in 2014. She was there. Even she was recorded. She was recorded on audio, exchanging information on how to overthrow the government in Ukraine and who to install. So this is the woman that they have sent to Africa to intervene. This is the woman President Biden, Joe Biden, has sent on behalf of the American people to intervene in the coup in Niger. So this should show you what is at stake. What is at stake is really huge in Niger, and every African needs to pay attention to this. This woman is brutal and very murderous. Of course, we remember very well that hundreds of people died during the Ukraine crisis in 2014, that there was a democratically elected president, and he was overthrown. They instigated a coup and chaos in the country. And this woman was at the center. She was at the center of instigating this coup that happened there. And so it is no surprise that now she has been sent to instigate another chaos in Niger. Reason why? It is because the Africans have been able to reign and apply their own internal systems to avoid the war. It is because the governors in Nigeria, for example, have been able to rein in on Tinubu. They have been able to prevail on Tinubu and tell him that it is not necessary. You cannot start a war. And of course, we saw South Africa also has been able to put its voice out there. We had Madame Naledi Pandor, who is the Minister of Foreign Relations, in South Africa, has been also able to put her voice out there and say that it's necessary to use diplomacy. It is not necessary for us to use war to be able to solve these problems. We can use the diplomacy and solve these problems. So because the Americans and the Europeans are seeing that this strategy of using chaos is failing, now they are trying to employ a different strategy now. They are trying to employ some chaotic situation. So we will come to that later. But this woman, this is the type of woman that has been sent to Africa to be able to carry out and fulfill the United States interests. So you can know and you can expect a lot of chaos within Niger, because that is what this woman carries. This woman is an angel of death and chaos. So I want Africans to be able to get information about this woman called Victoria Nuland. Now, on the other side also, we heard that when she came into Niger, she requested to meet the ousted leader, President Mohamed Bazoum, the former president, President Mohamed Bazoum. She first requested to meet the coup leader in Niger, and they failed, or they refused, actually. They refused. They told her that she cannot meet him. And she put up another demand that she want to meet the former president, Mohamed Bazoum. And they refused to let her to meet him also. So all in all, they chased her away from Niger, and she was not able to see the people she wanted. And she went back to the United States, and she said that the people are very difficult, the coup leaders are very difficult, they are very difficult people, and it is simply because they know what they want. These people know what they want. It is not good to negotiate with an enemy. It is not a good thing to negotiate with the enemy who you know that has been oppressing you for a very long time. For a very long time, for the last 60 years, the United States has been here oppressing us and oppressing the people and exploiting the people. For the last 600 years...
Kwame, let me intervene just for us, for it to be clear, what do you mean by negotiating with the enemy? And if you can cite an example, that happened globally or specifically in Africa, and what it brought, the consequence of it.
Yes, so historically, what I wanted to mention there is that when you look at how the leaders of the coup in Niger approached this situation, that they refused to negotiate with Nuland. We have cases in history where leaders have, especially African leaders, have gone in to negotiate with the enemy, and it has been catastrophic. So actually, I want to laud the strategy which they have used, that they have refused to negotiate with the enemy. They have refused to talk to the enemy, because now they see organizations like African Union, ECOWAS, and United Nations as enemy. And it is clear, we know that, all of us know that, but it's because we have been accommodating it because of somehow feeling helpless. But when we go back to history, we see situations like starting with Haiti, that when Haiti was able to beat France and Britain and beat Spain, France was able to convince the leader of the movement, of the independence movement, who was Toussaint. They were able to convince him that he should come, and then we negotiate with France. And they grabbed him and they killed him. They killed, Toussaint. And that is how Dessalines took over. Now, when we come to South Africa, also we had a situation like this, that when President Mandela was in prison, and they took him and they started looking after him very well, and they started to bring him to negotiate on the table, we saw what happened. There was the neglect and the abandonment of the Freedom Charter in South Africa, the Freedom Charter which was stating that we have to take back our land as Africans. So the Freedom Charter was abandoned, and what came later is compromise, because whenever you speak to an enemy, you are likely to compromise. So I want to laud the leaders of the coup for the insistence that they would not negotiate with the enemy, because they have stood the ground. And I've been hearing, actually, even in some corners, that the leader, they attempted to bribe him with around $200 million, and he rejected it. He rejected it. So this should show you that Africans are not corrupt. They are not naturally corrupt. But there is certain circumstances that are currently existent on the continent that are forcing Africans to be looked at as corrupt. And when you have someone who is starving and they want to eat, and you put something in front of them, definitely they are likely to eat it. So there is certain forces which are existent on the continent that are painting Africa's image and the image of Africans as a people as corrupt. But this should be able to show you that this is not a corrupt leader. That these people, they know what they want, and what they want is to take back the resources of the continent. So that is an example. That is precisely the perfect example which I can give you in this situation when we talk of Toussaint, in Haiti, and then when we talk of President Nelson Mandela in South Africa, that there was compromise, that the land was not taken back. And now whenever you compromise, you let the enemy buy time, and then you postpone your struggle. Even the struggle could be even much more difficult if you start postponing the struggle. And it is very dangerous. This is a very dangerous situation. And when you look at places like China, where they embraced the struggle and fought all at once, they were able to liberate their place, their country, unify it, and now see where they are. But because the Africans have always had this sort of humanistic approach and they want to negotiate with the enemy, I'm not saying that it is inherently bad. It is because of our nature as Africans that we want to put things in order. We want to be fair. We have the desire to have fairness. But it has, in many cases, not produced anything good for us. So we have to learn from this and start putting our foot down as Africans. So I want to laud that once again, that they really did a good thing. They approached this situation, I think, very well by refusing to speak to some of these people, to any of these people who have even been condemning. Now, that takes us to the last update that we have for today. The last update is this. Now, another emir of Kano, the emir of Kano, in the northern part of the continent, the northern part of Nigeria, went in to Niger and he was successfully able to meet the coup leaders in Niger. Even though the coup leaders, they rejected the African Union, ECOWAS, and the United Nations. Actually, I think the unwiseness of the African Union and ECOWAS is to go together with the United Nations. I think this was not very well. And actually, especially the African Union, I would have expected the African Union to distance itself from ECOWAS, because ECOWAS has shown that it is against the African people. And the United Nations, of course, that one is completely against the African people. It was chased from Mali. The United Nations, even now, the people in the Democratic Republic of Congo are demanding that it should leave. President Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of Congo has also demanded that the United Nations leaves. They should leave the country of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And President Paul Kagame also has spoken about the United Nations, because every time you speak about the United Nations and their failures in the Democratic Republic of Congo, they have been pointing to Rwanda, that is, Rwanda is the problem. But President Kagame also pointed out and said that if the United Nations has been working, why has it been in the Congo for the last 60 years? And it has not been able to stabilize the country. And he said that if actually Rwanda was in the Congo, it would have stabilized the Democratic Republic of Congo. So there is, of course, we can talk, that is for another day, the chaos between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda and Uganda, and of course the imperialist interests, which have been there for the last 60 years since the killing of President Patrice Lumumba, Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba. So that is an issue for another day. But what we are saying is that the United Nations as an organization does not have a clean record in the African continent. It has participated in creating chaos. It wanted to create another chaos even in Ethiopia, where it took 300 trucks and gave them to the rebels, and was carrying weapons and satellite phones and giving them to the rebels, the TPLF rebels in northern, Ethiopia. So the United Nations has been a carrier of chaos. It took Ebola in Haiti and killed our people in Haiti. This is the United Nations. So it does not have a clean record that we can look at. And it is unfortunate that the African Union is able to associate with such an organization. And I think that the African Union should have deassociated itself if it wanted to be looked at as a qualified arbiter, someone who's come to mediate this conflict. If the African Union wanted to be looked at that way, it was supposed to distance itself from ECOWAS and the United Nations. But it is unfortunate that it was not able. And when they went, of course, they were sent away by the coup leaders in Niger. And now they welcomed one person, only one person, the Emir of Kano in northern Nigeria. They welcomed him and they spoke to him. Now, what does this tell us? What does this tell us? Mahlet asked, should the Pan-Africanists not be the ones who should fill this gap, considering like what, like what we have mentioned, that the AU, ECOWAS, and the United Nations are discredited. In this case, they do not qualify. Because first of all, they threw around condemnations of the coup, and they were threatening. And of course, this is what the coup leaders mentioned, that we cannot speak to people who have been throwing around threats and threatening us. We cannot speak to them. So this is what they rejected. So I think that the Emir of Kano, I think he will be able to reach some milestones, and he will take back the information maybe to President Tinubu and some of the ECOWAS people. But I think at this point, the Pan-Africanists, we the Pan-Africanists, as people who are the custodians of the ideas of the founders of the modern African state, or the founders of the modern African ideology, I think we should have been the ones who should have been in this position. But of course, because of certain weaknesses, we were not able to go there. If you look at Pan-Africanists, Pan-Africanists are currently a little bit scattered. And of course, that is what we are working on also, to be able to bring these forces together. We should have been the ones to go with also the solutions. What should we do to counter this imperialism? Because we very well understand what these leaders are going through, especially those who have shown interest that they are fighting for African people. Those ones who have shown that they are fighting for the interests of the African people. Because not all coups are fighting for the interests of the African people, but you have to sift them. You have to filter them and look at certain characteristics, a certain, points, and see those who are fighting for the African people, who are interested in making Africa better. So in this case, this coup in Niger, we can see certain aspects of them exhibiting that they want to fight for the retainment of resources by Africans, and so the rejection of any imperialistic approach like what we have said. So I think that Pan-Africanists are in a very privileged situation, that we are supposed to take advantage of this. And we are working actually very hard towards this. That is why we are asking everyone who's watching out there to come and support us. Support us with everything financially and everywhere in which we can. Me and Mahlet, this organization which we are running with our other colleagues, we do not use people's money anyhowly. And when you give us your contribution, we will give you the receipt. We will show you how we have spent that money straight away. So we are not using money anyhowly. We are not here like opportunists who have come to get rich over this. I have been doing this Pan-Africanism for the last 10 years. I have been around for the last 10 years studying and feeling pained about our continent. So I think that we are ready, to take on the challenge. So I think that Pan-Africanists are in a very privileged situation. We should be able to take advantage of this, because we are not able to condemn the coup. We understand the forces at play on the continent. And also Pan-Africanists are the, right now, custodians of the ideas of our forefathers, Marcus Garvey, George Padmore, Kwame Nkrumah, Robert Sobukwe, you can talk of Abdul Nasser Gamal, you can talk of Ben Bembela. So all these great people, Chika Anta Diop, Pan-Africanists are the custodians of these ideas right now. And all the other great people, Winnie Mandela, of course, I don't want to look like I'm talking only about men. We have Winnie Mandela, and we have many other great women like Amy Ashwood Garvey and all the others who have fought for the African people across all across the world. So Pan-Africanists, they are the custodians of those ideas. So I think that we are in a privileged situation and position that we should be able to intervene and mediate, because I believe that these coup leaders will be able to listen to us. Since we are coming from the African civil society itself, we are not privileged like these rulers in ECOWAS and all these organizations who are entitled, they feel entitled to maintain a system that is oppressing the African people. So that is what I mean by Pan-Africanists being able to qualify or qualifying to be able to arbitrate or to be the arbiters in this situation and mediators in this situation, and be able to hear out and even provide solutions to the crisis that is happening in Niger currently and all the other African countries. Maybe I should not even call it a crisis, this opportunity, because this is an opportunity for Pan-Africanists, actually. So thank you very much, Mahlet.
Thank you very much, Kwame, really, for unfolding those developments in Niger, which are really important that we need to pay attention. Yeah, that tells us really why Victoria Nuland was in Niger, because there's a next development that we are going to discuss it at the end. We said we have three talking points or discussion for today. One is all the updates in Niger. The second one is now the gas pipeline that we are going to jump in right now. And then the third one is also one of you here mentioned regarding those rebels who are going to fight the oust with. They are going to fight with the ousted President Bazoum, meaning in support of him. And you will see how the Western media will go. But that will be for our final discussion for today. Let me say, before I go to the second question, I really interesting comments, suggestions, inputs here. I see also other platforms, and I see sometimes a lot of chat flying by, and mostly kind of nonsense in a way. I'm sorry if my language is offensive, but really interesting comments. And Lambert Ebitu was yesterday with us, as you know, as we revealed those 11 colonial tax imposed against Africa and Haiti. So he was telling me today, actually, he was complimenting really how your people there are very serious. He said in the time that he was not talking, when Kwame was the one talking, he really learned a lot and took notes, what to do next. And I can see that here. Really, thank you very much. That's why we take time, really. Sometimes we finish and we take after that, after our discussion, to engage you, to answer your question, because I know that how valuable they are. And we also learn from you. Sometimes we throw questions to you so that you can fill the gap. We do our research, but it doesn't mean that we are the ultimate lecturers here. We also learn from you. Everybody can contribute. So thank you very much. Really, I value that. Now, let's move to the second question, Kwame. Now, this gas pipeline, which is going to be bought from Nigeria and pass through Niger and then Algeria, and then to reach to Europe, and ultimately France will be one of them to use it. And it seems, it's a gas that they, when they sanction Russia, so they want to replace their gas with that. I assume. But my interest is, everybody was wondering, including myself, what is really behind Tinubu's support. Maybe support is really an understatement for him to be on that driving seat and agitating for the war to go, to invade Niger. So everybody was, questioning that. So for me, I am assuming this could be one of the reasons, because there was a deal signed which benefits Nigeria and also the ousted government in Niger, because there's a lot of corruption in the ex-colony countries, which used to be colonies of France. So spill the tea about this. So can this also be, the Europe so anxious about the President Bazoum that has been ousted, and also Tinubu's action, to intervene in Niger? Back to you.
Thank you, Mahlet. So I will share this. I want to share something, if you allow me to share something, so that our viewers can see this. This was published. This was published in 2022, which is last year, in July. Algeria, Nigeria, and Niger discuss a pipeline to Europe. Now, this is 2022, which is last year, of course. Last Friday, I was traveling from one town to another in West Africa, where I am currently. And in my travels, I met a brotherly gentleman who was going to Burkina Faso. He was traveling to Burkina Faso. Now, he noticed me and he asked me what I think about the situation in Niger. So when he asked me about what is happening, what I think about what happened in Niger and all the region, Burkina Faso and Mali, immediately I told him what I think, because I'm a Pan-Africanist. So I had to put it out there for him immediately. And I told him that I think that these coups, I think that some of them have to be analyzed. Actually, they have to be analyzed, all of them, and understand which are for the people, which are fighting for the people, because our people are being impoverished in the name of democracy. You know, whenever you speak about incompetence, people, they immediately raise the card of democracy. Whenever you speak about the fact that our resources are being exploited by the West, immediately people raise the card of democracy, especially those ones who are in power and benefiting from this system that is exploiting and impoverishing our people. And then some of those who are in the middle class, some of them who are working with these multinational corporations which are exploiting our resources, they immediately, you hear them raising the card of democracy. But the system is strangling our people. There's no medicines in hospitals. The roads are very bad. And in schools, our children are studying under trees. You know, you can go on and on to talk about these things. And our leaders, they are traveling to Europe to get the treatment. People like Tinubu, they travel to Europe to get, you know, he had just been voted into presidency. Actually, even the period when he was going to the election period, he was in France, dining and even getting treatment from France. So, but our people are dying here. But these are the people who raise the card of democracy when you are talking about their incompetence and their lack of delivery. Now, this was my argument. So I told him that the coups need to be analyzed, and those coups which are representing the people, if we notice that they are representing the ideas of the people, we have to support these coups, because the coups have been used in the past by the West to remove good African leaders in the past. Now, what they did not think is that Africans too would learn their methods. This is, you know, this is what is interesting about this situation. And this is where I laugh at people who always condemn coup uniformly and say coups are bad. No. If you are a fighter and you are a Pan-Africanist fighter, someone who is interested in the African continent, then you should also be able to adapt to the situation. You should be able to adapt to the strategies the enemy is using, so that you can also use them. And when you use them, you can beat them. You can even beat him with his own strategies. So that was my argument. And I told him that I support some of these coups when I look at what is happening in Niger. So far, I support what is happening in Niger. So then he gave me his side of the view. And his side of the view is where I got this information from. Of course, I spoke about the uranium, that they are stealing the uranium, and Niger also discovered, a lot of oil and gas, and the French have been planning on how to extract this from Niger. And of course, with the gold, I spoke about all these. And he gave me another dimension, and this is the dimension he gave me. And when I checked on the internet, lo and behold, I came across a French newspaper, Le Moi, which we are seeing right now. And he spoke about a pipeline that France wanted to construct, a pipeline from Nigeria, and that pipeline is supposed to go through Niger. A very big part of that pipeline is supposed to go through Niger all the way to Algeria. And now to Algeria, that is where the pump stations are, the major pump stations are, which will pump that gas, which is coming from Nigeria, the Nigerian oil fields. And that gas will go to Europe, and it will arrive in Italy, and from Italy, they will distribute it all over Europe. Now, I want you to look at the date of the news itself. The date, like I mentioned, it was in July 29th, last year. We remember that last year, the war in Ukraine had already started. And the gas pipeline, which is flowing from Russia to Ukraine, had been interrupted. And the United States was pushing Europe to leave Russian gas, not to use it. So the Europeans, they came to Africa. They are looking for alternatives. As you know, the United States is bullying them to leave the cheap gas from Russia. So they had to come to Africa to look for alternative sources of gas, which they will use a source of gas which is cheaper. And so they came to Africa. And we saw that the French president went to Algeria, where he was not welcomed very much last year, to the point that when he left Algeria and he went back to Europe, they were, he was not happy. He spoke and said that Algeria is still annoyed about the colonialism instead of forgetting the past. And this is the strategy which the Europeans normally use whenever an African talks about the brutality that they have subjected us to. They normally say you should forget it, forget the past. Let us face the future. Let us look into the future. So this is the strategy. But I must tell you, as an African, you should never forget the brutality that has been subjected on our people for the last 600 years. It is dangerous if you forget it. Absolutely dangerous, because you open up yourself to perpetual oppression and brutality. They will come again and oppress you because you have forgotten what they did to you. The Chinese, they do not forget. They do not tell these things to the Chinese. They do not tell these things to the Jews. The Jews, their brutality, what they are, just happened recently, but the Jews are always singing about genocide, about the genocide that happened to them. But when Africans talk about the brutality that happened to them, they say the Africans should forget those are past things. We should look at the front. So when he went to Algeria, they refused. They said that we cannot, you cannot tell us that we should not talk about the past. You people were here and you brutalized us and you killed us in numbers. So when he went back, he said that Algeria should try and forget the past so that they can look to the future. So this is a trap. This is a trap. Now, he went to Algeria, of course, and of course, they came with this plan of building a gas pipeline. Now, mind you, Europe right now is standing up against a pipeline which East Africa is building in the East African region from the western part of Uganda through Tanzania and all the way to the Indian Ocean to take the East African oil from western Uganda and Democratic Republic of Congo, from Eastern, Democratic Republic of Congo. But they want to build an oil pipeline from Nigeria to Algeria all the way to pump the gas to Europe. So this is where the hypocrisy of the Europeans come in. This is where their hypocrisy comes in. Now they want to take cheaper gas from Nigeria. So this, from our analysis, could be a very strong reason why they are insisting that they want to stay in Niger. They want to stay in Niger because of this gas pipeline that Europe is going to suffer because of increased gas. Information came out, a few moments ago that the price of gas has increased drastically. The price of gas has increased drastically in Europe. This information came out today.
Yeah.
It came out today, and I saw it on RT News that the price of gas has increased. Now, what is affecting this? It is this news, because the markets now are sensitive to what is happening. They had the hope that they were going to build an oil pipeline to get cheaper gas from Africa. And now that has been interrupted. And now also the uranium has been interrupted. The gold has been interrupted. So it is no accident that you are seeing the anxiety. I want you to watch France 24 and all the other European media houses. You can see even in the commentators, the voices of the commentators, and the newscasters on France 24 that they are terrified. They are terrified. Fear has gripped them. They are apologetic. On one side, they are looking apologetic, even though at the start, when they saw ECOWAS was on their side fighting for them, they were very strong in condemning and they were very confident. But now all of them, they look cold, even when they are speaking on France 24. I want people to go out there and look at YouTube and look for France 24 where they are commenting about the Niger issue right now. They are very cold, they are fearful. So the anxiety has gripped Europe that they are going into the darkness. And this reminds us of a French president who said that without Africa, France would slide into the third world. This is a reality. These are the arrogant people who have been insulting and abusing Africa. We are poor. Africa is poor. Africa, we give them aid. So if you are giving us aid and we are saying don't give us aid, come and do business. Come and buy at the right price on the international market. Why don't you want to come and buy? Because you are always claiming that you have money. You are claiming that you are rich. Then come and buy at the international market. The price of gas at the international market. Come and buy the uranium at the price of the international market, because you have been claiming that you are giving aid. You have so much money. Now, when Africans are saying that, come and buy it, now you are terrified. That we are seeing France is terrified. The United States is terrified. So they do not want, it tells you that they do not want to buy at the right price from Africa. They want to take for free. And also this brings you to the understanding that these people, the World Bank and the IMF, they are the ones who are fueling corruption in Africa. It shows you that Africans are not corrupt, but these people are the ones who are fueling corruption, because they are coming to the continent and buying out a few people and bribing them with this money, bring $150 million and give them to the ruling people, the ministers and the president and his ministers, and take $4 billion worth of resources. Like what we have seen in 2022, Niger sold uranium, which is worth $4 billion. When we tracked the money, nothing came to Niger. Nothing completely of the $4 billion of uranium that was taken out of Niger. Nothing came to Niger. Instead, what we hear is a loan from the International Monetary Fund of less than $200 million, which is around $150 million. So this is the unfortunate situation. So what we are saying as the next generation of Africans is that they must pay the price of the resources before they take them out of the continent. And we do not want aid. And I think that the President Traore, Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso, has made this very clear. And he said that we have been here for the last 63 years. And we have been receiving aid from France. But this aid has not removed the poverty from us. So we are free to live with it. This is when France said that they have removed the aid from Burkina Faso. So this is the statement he made. And he said that let them take the aid because we have been receiving it for 63 years, but the poverty has not reduced in Burkina Faso. So that means this is not the solution for us. And it will instead energize us as Burkinabe people, as African people, to work harder for ourselves, because we have already known that the aid cannot produce any solution for us. So he said they should take it because after all, how much was it? It's $100 million, $100 million. So what is $100 million? They will make a lot of noise about $100 million as if it's a lot of money, which is just chicken change. So this is the unfortunate situation. So the pipeline is part of the situation. So there is an integrated group of interests. There's a group of interests which are bound together that these people are fighting for, because they did not put up this much fight in Burkina Faso. They did not put up this much fight in Guinea. They did not put up this much fight. So why are they fighting so hard to stay in Niger? Exactly. So this is the question which we are answering today.
Thank you very much, Kwame, for that really very, very insightful. I'm sure everyone here who is tuned tonight is learning a lot and speaking. You are speaking to our mind. Hopefully we will take this and turn it into something and become active in our own world to make Pan-Africanism, to put it on the ground, and to make that action one step ahead in terms of supporting our brothers, not just talking in Niger. Otherwise, history will simply judge us. Now I would like to, before we move to our final talking point for today, I would like, because the engagement is really, really crazy here. I mean, crazy in a good way. For me, I think it's better to come and reflect after each topic, what they have reflected here. First of all, I really would like to thank anxious man for your donation. Thank you also Osie Ekwam. He said he will donate. Thank you very much. We appreciate and we value each and everyone's support here, regardless of the amount. It means a lot for us, to come.
Yeah, so let me also thank him, Mahlet. Let me also thank Anxious Man for that support. We really appreciate you, Anxious Man, for the support that you have given to the channel, because this will help us to stay, serving the people, serving the continent. Because let me tell you something, this generation, this is the task that we have been given, and you can see the signs that the time is right for us to do this. So we must not wait, but we must work, studiously, tenaciously, and we must work together towards the task that we have been given. The work has been laid already. We are building on a very strong foundation. Nkrumah said that I'm in the knowledge that death can never extinguish the torch I've lit in Ghana and in Africa. And he went on to say that long after I'm dead and gone, the torch will continue to burn and be borne aloft, giving guidance to all people. All people. So Nkrumah died in 1972, before I was born, before majority of us were born. But these words have stood immortal and have stood testament to the resilience of the African. And these words, it is upon which Pan-Africanism has stood, which those words Nkrumah said, because of the work he started and because also of the work on which he built, the work of the ancestors like Marcus Garvey. And of course, they were not able to finish the work. And that's why we have had certain other Pan-Africanists. Like there's a Pan-Africanist from Senegal called Theo Nyang, who served in the Obama administration. He said that this generation, we have to do the work. We have to do the work like we are going to win. And if we do not win, then the next generations will contribute to what we have also contributed. That is the spirit we are supposed to approach this. And that means that everyone must contribute. Everyone must make a contribution. However small, everyone must make a contribution because this is our generation. And in this generation, one of the African writers said that every generation has its mission, and it either betrays that mission or it fulfills it. It must discover that mission and either betray it or fulfill it. And I think that if we make our contribution towards this great continent and our people who are suffering across all the world, 1 million people, 1 million African people are in the cells, in prisons, incarcerated in the United States. 1 million African people, people of African descent. You can call them whatever you want. You can call them African American. But we understand that they are Africans because they came from Africa, these people. They are oppressed by an oppressive system, which was created by Europe. And the United States is carrying on that system. So this is the task that has been given to us. So whatever we do here, however small, it contributes to that liberation of our people who are suffering all across the world. So I think that should be very important. That should be understood. We've spoken here at length about Haiti. So these are very important aspects of this struggle that we are doing. So we want to thank you, Anxious Man, for that contribution, and we want to welcome everyone else. And Mahlet, we should make sure we give everyone who has contributed their receipt and then the accountability of how that money has been used, like we mentioned. Thank you so much.
We will do that. Thank you, Kwame, for taking time to thank our people here. So let me go through the comments quickly. There are things that we are trying to do on the ground, like writing letters, for example, a letter endorsed by many organizations and then individuals, Pan-Africanists, people like Pierre Lumumba and others, to tell them what they need to hear for ECOWAS, and also another later also to trying to reach out the co-leaders in Niger. So we will share the update with you. And there's another thing that's a flyer going on.
Actually, those people, some of the letters, allow me to add this a little bit. And some of the people who have contributed to us, they will get a chance to share some of these letters. And also some of the letters we will be sharing them on the channel here. So I think that is another aspect. That is one of the things the people who contribute to us, which will, they will be able to get the inside information about whatever we are doing, about whatever step that we are doing. So all those who have given any help, they should expect to be always on the mailing list to be able to understand what is going on across the continent. And of course, we will call you and speak to you so that we can understand your position and where you are coming from. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so now straight to the comments. So Anxious Man said, let me know if you don't want me to call your name, so just say in the section. But for now, I'll just address you with your name. You wrote, help for Niger. We need to start a fund for Niger because ECOWAS is planning to bring down the government with sanctions. We cannot stand by and watch this happen. So if there's anything eligible that you can share with us, the details of this funding. So you are welcome. Once we know its eligibility and accountability, we can share it on our platform. Michael Newman said, you can only negotiate, when you have leverage. These are reflections on the previous discussion point. Also, don't forget that Haitian people's gold were stolen by the US, now stored with Goldman Sachs. Aaron, thank you for sending the email, the videos. So I will look at them, but really thank you. You have been reminding the people also to share, to subscribe, and to like. I might forget here when I am into the discussion. So I appreciate and I welcome your assistance here. The Juma Boutique, he said, Britain stealing over $1 billion of Venezuelan more from their foreign accounts. Let's say Black people and women are now the face of white supremacy. Kamala Harris was asked to call Tinubu to invade Niger to avoid the racist optics. This one is new for me, but I know the system, what the West use, throwing that blackface whenever they want to do something against us. That's, the one good thing about the collective West is their system is always, their formula is always the same. It starts from the mainstream media, demonization, and then creating a rebel group and going to the UN, taking it to the UN Security Council, and then, establishing a committee that has a blackface in it and bringing it to the Hague, calling it genocide. It's all the same. It's up to us to wake up and predict what is next and take action on it. But thank you for bringing that up. Osie Ekwam said the Emir of Kano went on a different capacity. He didn't go on behalf of the government. No, we did not say that. So indeed, he went in support of the coup leaders. I think that's what you meant. NAID USA, NAID and USA are fronts. Yeah. So OCA also asks, so America and France want Nigerians to remain poor forever? Oh, yes. I mean, there's no shame. You have to watch. There's one video by a Dutchman analyzing, how really the West will go, how far they go blocking you if you come up with any development plan. That video was, I think, viral. And I don't know how that man survived it also. He exposed a lot of things. Tinubu appears to be operating under witchcraft. Tinubu does not have a legitimate mandate. Yes, his election is still, he's accused, and the opposition is calling it for cancellation. Yes. Niger invasion has zero benefits to Nigeria, but rather a president who may be under pressure because the US may have something on him during his days in the US. Definitely. And there's a lot of harm for Nigeria
Yes,
in post
yes.
right now because of transport, even the flights, because now the Niger, the coup leaders have sanctioned it. They have to go the other way. So the air become very costly, the transport of goods, everything. Actually, it's, we were thinking to make a program, but actually Nigeria sanctioned itself. It's not really a sanction against Niger. Yeah. True. Mikhail Newman, it was not a free or fair election. Even the European Union report said it. No, we don't want their report. I mean, we know that it wasn't fair. When
Yeah,
they,
yeah. Actually,
eh?
actually, the previous person made a very important point related to that, the issue of the elections not being free and fair, and the fact that the elections are still being contested in the court, and Tinubu is throwing himself and throwing his weight around as if he's the champion of democracy. I mean, it becomes laughable. But there's someone who mentioned that they have the United States has something on Tinubu. Yeah, there's information which was going around that he was arrested in the United States for drug trafficking.
Wow.
And that information looks to be coming from valid sources. So you can even check it out on the internet. That information, I think, is valid. So this is a trap that they are putting African people in, because this man, they have information on him, they have stuff on him. Now they can be able to use him as they want. They can use him and command him to do whatever they want. And this is what we saw with the ECOWAS. You can see that they were pushing him. Something was pushing him. If it was not for our people in Nigeria to push back, the senators and the various people who came out to speak against this behavior, they were pushing him to go in. And you can see how they were jubilating. You can see the Western media, how it was jubilating and was saying ECOWAS is going to do it. ECOWAS is going to, ECOWAS has control over this situation. But now when it failed, all of a sudden they are coiling what could be next. ECOWAS is like this. ECOWAS has sort of like failed. This is the approach now that has come up. And then the coldness. And of course, the results is what we are seeing with Victoria Nuland to come and intervene. Now, this shows you that because they are seeing that ECOWAS and Tinubu, their man has failed, now they are coming in by themselves to intervene in the situation, to do it for themselves. That is why you are seeing that the Assistant Secretary of State, Acting Assistant Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland, was pushed to go in and intervene so that they can be able to save whatever they want to save. Of course, the exploitation. And the United States wants to save the presence of its military base over there, where it has more than 100, drones, the MQ-9 Reapers, which, these are the drones which we are used to kill a lot of people in the Middle East. And they have brought them to Africa to kill the Africans. And this is what this
that will relate to our next topic. So
yeah.
let me go through this, and then we will bring that up next. So somebody suggested you should talk about the embassy that the USA want to build in Nigeria, the largest embassy of the USA worldwide and most technically advanced. Why? Thank you for your suggestion. Last time somebody, was it Aaron or Black, suggested about, to talk those colonial taxes. imposed by France against its ex-colonies, African countries. So we did that. We delivered yesterday, really in a very, very insightful way. So we will take into consideration. We will look through it. We do our research, and then. Dujemba Butik said Tinubu was the governor of Lagos State from 1999 to 2007. He still pretty much controls the state by proxy, yet no hospital good enough for him. This comes when you said he has a treatment in France. Osie Ekwam, thank you very much for your promise, for the donation. No pressure, my brother or sister, no problem. Okay, so Djemba, it's a consulate, and this has been built in Victoria Island, Lagos. Okay. Tinubu also has some serious organized crime connection from his time living in Chicago. See David Hyundai's video from earlier today. Okay, so this is relates with Kwame said the drug thing. Wasn't it last year they discovered hidden pipelines stealing oil out of Nigeria? We spoke about this, those things without getting a cent for the people who they have been stealing and still continue to steal, by the way.
It is Shell, especially Shell,
Shell,
is the one which is involved in that. A British company, it's a Dutch and British company.
How
They are the ones
Nigeria,
involved
is it
in
a luck
Nigeria as well.
how it is falling, on the hands of people that really do not care about its people? It's just a tragedy.
Now, these are all African resources which are being, stolen. I think we should not even say, for us, we should not even say is Nigerian resources. These are African resources which are being stolen, and at the end of the day, all the other African people are the ones who suffer, because when Nigerians are leaving their country because their place, because the situation is bad, of course, sometimes they go and suffer in other African countries. They suffer together with the other African brothers all across the continent and falling in the Mediterranean Ocean, which we have seen the abuses which sometimes go on and which are not justified in some cases. So we have seen certain situations in these cases, in many situations, that some of the abuses, Nigerians are some of the hardest working people, some of the smartest people, we have on the planet. You can even listen to the recent comments which were made by Akon. And he said the Nigerians are the smartest people on the planet. So, but the same people who are stealing from you, they plant a narrative and say you are corrupt. They say you are a scammer. But the Western world has whole institutions which are scamming us. The IMF and World Bank. These institutions are scamming us of billions and trillions. We can look at the United Nations report, which was published even in 2021. $100 billion is flowing out of Africa according to the United Nations report. And it was identified illicitly. So this is scamming. This is the scamming which we are talking about. $100 billion is flowing out of Africa illicitly. And it was identified that where that money is going is the United States, Brussels, Paris. This is where the money was identified. They didn't say it was going to Beijing. This is what the report says. So it's very unfortunate. And I think that label of corrupt and scammers, we have to very much reject it being put on Africans anyhow.
Okay, I was muted. Yeah, so we took a while in going through these comments, but let me just finish it. They don't want to buy, they want to rape, steal, and plunder. Yeah, the interesting thing is that there exists, this is coming from Djemba. The interesting thing is that there exists what I call a pathological and sadistic hatred of Africa and Africans within French society. That's, yeah. Djemba also, I think it was you also yesterday, vacation in Africa, spend your money patronizing African-owned hotels and resorts. That's interesting because we also told you I mean, we have introduced our website called connecttoafrica.org here. And one of the things that we are planning to do is to do not only, we always try to do beyond the information and the talking, informing you here. So to do things on the ground, we do write letters for the organization, try and make it endorsed by different Pan-Africanists. And also the other thing is to do educational tour to connect ourselves back home and to know each other's land, you know, to develop that, how do you say, interest of doing having a vacation in Africa, but a kind of, for most of the people who are out of Africa, and kind of an African tour, educational tour. So we are talking also people on the ground, you know, on government level to host, but we will come back. So I appreciate, Dijemba, you come with that comment. Please, always when you are here, remind the people and let us know, write us an email, those of you who have an interest to go back Africa, and you know, to have your vacation and to have that educational tour. If you have a suggestion also to do which region, we will try to connect 2 countries or something per region in a way that it's not costly. So let us know by email, and then yeah, we can implement this. In the north, corruption is institutionalized in the law. That is the only difference. Where, I mean, Michael, you're saying this in Nigeria, I think. Siendes, they always talk about African leaders being corrupt, yet all the proceeds of corruption are banked in the collective West. I just have to laugh about this. I don't have to say anything. To make it work, Switzerland is ranked as the least corrupt country in the world, yet that is a tax haven where crime money from around the world is. Talk, my brother, really talk. See this. I mean, yeah, thank you very much for shedding light on. We all know about the Swiss bank, we have heard, but sometimes we need to be told again and again. Yeah, let's go to our last discussion point for today. Thank you really very much for your engagement here. Keep it coming. It helps us. Now, Kwame, there is a new, I think it was earlier today, a new rebel leader called Agbula, Risa Agbula. I might not be pronouncing it right. So he said he's forming a group, which he says it's going to fight to restore or to reinstate back the ousted President Bazoum of Niger. Now, can we connect this? Because wherever Victoria Nuland, was it Nuland, her last name, is there, we say she's a master of chaos, the mastermind behind chaos and coup d'etats in the world, and you have brought us example here. Can we connect her visit with this one? And then maybe also in general, this is maybe the next strategy that the West is trying to do. Is this where their mind is now that they see ECOWAS is not going to do what they expected it to do? Yeah, so back to you. What's your comment on this?
Yeah, I think I would say so. I would concur with you that this issue is connected. The fact that he came out today to announce this, I saw this immediately on routers. It was called, yeah, I saw it on Reuters, the media house from the West, which is on the internet, and I'll try to put it in the comment section for those people who want to read it. You can check in the comment section right now. You can go and read that article. So it came out from Reuters, and they said that this man as you have mentioned, his name is called Risa Agbula. He's actually a reggae fighter. He has been, a minister in a couple of governments in the past, but currently he had been out of work and he had been out of job. And when you connect it to the visit by Victoria Nuland, I mean, somebody is inclined to believe that there's something which the United States is playing here. It is changing strategy and, of course, working with its partners, the Europeans. But also, the United States wants to outmuscle France, because what we have to understand is that even though they work together, but they still have divisions within. The United States would have divisions with France and, of course, Britain. And we mentioned yesterday that there was an article which was published by the BBC. And in that article, the BBC was saying that France trying to create chaos, in the region? And is it trying to create chaos also in Nigeria? And of course, it mentioned, BBC mentioned that. And we have to understand that BBC is a mouthpiece, is a state media house of the United Kingdom. And what did we say? We just mentioned that the United Kingdom has interest. It is the former colonial aggressor, is the former colonial exploiter of Nigeria. So it has interest in Nigeria. Britain has interests in Nigeria. And of course, we have already spoken about Shell. It is the champion. Shell is the master in the Niger Delta in extracting the oil in Niger Delta. Is the one which has been actually even stealing the oil with the pipeline, which was discovered by the NNPC, which is the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. The pipeline was discovered, but those things were swept under the rug, because this is a company with a lot of money. So those things were swept under the rug. So Britain has interest in there. So we see that Britain too has a certain way it is looking at France negatively, because it thinks that it will interrupt their access to this oil from Nigeria. And of course, to tell you about the Nigerian oil, just briefly, Nigerian oil is the best in the world, actually. Good oil is measured by its sulfur content. And the oil which has the least sulfur content is easier to refine, and it takes less money to refine. And the best oil with the least sulfur content in the world is the Nigerian oil. That is why you see that these companies, they don't want to leave Nigeria. So the British are very concerned about the behavior of France, that the fact that France is pushing itself in there, and even including Nigeria in this fight, in this situation. So the United States, on the other side also, it thinks that France has failed to control the colonies, so that we can all benefit, because all of them are like vultures, like how you see lions in the bush, how they come and jump on an antelope. And if an antelope jumps away and goes away, the lions are likely to start fighting against each other. So this is what we are seeing. Or even one lion will stay pursuing. Now, that is what we are seeing with the United States, that it is continuing to pursue, and it's saying that it looks like this France, it doesn't know how to do this thing. So that is why you are seeing Victoria Nuland. While France is confused on the other side, doesn't know where to go, it was banking on ECOWAS to fight for it and play for it. Now, the United States is finding its way, because it has a military base, like we have mentioned, with over 100 drones, military drones, which are going to be used to terrorize Africans all across the continent, just like what they have been doing in the Middle East. And actually, there is someone who published a video yesterday and asked a question on YouTube: is Africa the new Middle East? Is Africa the new Middle East now? Now, what that means is that we should prepare for our people to die in mass. Mass is the huge numbers of our people to die under the hand of the United States and the Europeans. With what? With the justification, of course, that they are spreading democracy. But let me make it very clear. The United States and Europe, they are not spreading any democracy anywhere. They are spreading brutality and chaos and death, because everywhere Europeans go, only death follows them. And we can see this in Vietnam. We can see this in Iraq. We can see this in Korea. We can see this in Afghanistan, where they have just reigned. We can see their engagement in Ukraine. While other countries are calling for peace, they are pouring weapons into Ukraine so that more people can die. So the United States, if you allow it to come to your territory, expect your people to die in mass, huge numbers. And that is the danger that this man, President Mohamed Bazoum, was exposing other Africans to. So it is incumbent now upon all of us as Africans to work together with Niger and all the other African governments that have expressed interest in working for the African people to be able to fight off this predator called the United States, this parasite. Museveni yesterday, when he was speaking to a group of countries, coffee-producing African countries in Kampala, he called them predators, parasites. He called them parasites. That these are parasites. This parasitic behavior is not good. So this is what he said. And of course, he also mentioned the issue of the uranium in Niger. So the United States is trying to find its way. So with that being said, with all these scenarios that I've put before you, it is not out of place for someone to conclude that Victoria Nuland, including the fact that she has been involved in the coups and destruction in Iraq, Afghanistan, and organizing the coup and chaos in Ukraine in 2014, it is not out of place for someone to conclude that she is involved in organizing. And the fact that she was there, and another fact is this, another speculation is this, which they mentioned, is that the leaders of the coup in Niger, they refused over $200 million as a bribe. And of course, someone would ask, is it possible that they can give all this money? It is possible. I mentioned that in 2022, last year, Niger exported over $4 billion. $4 billion. So it is not out of place that they can offer the coup leaders $200 million so that they can back down, so that they can bribe them out, because this is the strategy. This is what they always use. Now, if they refuse, like what we are hearing from the news that is coming from certain corners, if they have refused, then they will, of course, take that. They will even take $100 million and give it to a certain group of people to organize themselves as rebels. And this man has been in this region as a rebel leader for some time, because he's a Tuareg who was in Libya. He used to fight in Libya, and then he came back to Niger, and he was appointed minister through his aggression and stuff like that. So they always come to regions and they will seek out such people and pour money into them, and then they will start destabilizing. So this is what they are looking. They are banking. Is possible that they are banking on this man to be able to destabilize the government in Niger and make the country ungovernable so that people will hate. And like what somebody said, is Africa the new Afghanistan? That is the danger. And I think that as African people, we have to work together. If all the youth in Africa have to be called on to go and aid in Niger and help it, then we have to be able to go. When I was speaking to a friend of mine from Burkina, I told him that for me, if I'm called on, if I get a chance, what I was saying is that if ECOWAS invades Niger, I'll try and find a way of going to help in whatever way I can help. So I think that this should be the spirit of us, all of us as Africans. In the 1940s, the African Americans wanted to travel. You can go on the internet and look at the pictures. African Americans wanted to travel from the United States and come to Ethiopia and fight alongside Ethiopia when it was being attacked by Italy. So if we are in Africa as African youth, we should have the same spirit. We should be able to go out there and help. Because what is happening is that the United States is trying to create chaos in this region to retain that control. Now, because they were pushing Africans to fight for them, to fight against each other while they are folding their hands, and they will be able to steal while we are fighting and even reduce our population. Because that strategy has failed, ECOWAS has not been able to achieve that for them. Now they want to attack themselves. Now they want to cause the chaos themselves. Now we will have on the other side ISIS and the so-called Daesh, which of course the United States and Europeans participated in bringing by the overthrow of the government in Libya. They participated in bringing this chaos. Now it is there in Niger. Now they are funding, they want to fund another rebel group And now we'll have a government which is facing a lot of trouble in the region, and it will be destabilized. And what will be the goal, the end goal here? It will be to steal. They will say that these people they are supporting, they have taken this region. And of course, they will take where the uranium mines are. As they are doing in Syria, what they are doing in Syria, we are seeing this, the United States has seized certain oil fields in Syria. So this is what is coming to us as Africans. If we do not work together, this is why it is very important. It's very important that the African youth, we pay very close attention to what is happening across the globe so that we can learn, because it is likely also to happen to us. And it is here for those who have not been learning for a very long time. I've mentioned to you what happened in Ukraine. The same woman who caused the chaos in Ukraine is coming to Africa now to cause chaos. Why? Because they want to achieve the same objective: dominance and white supremacy, domination of the world, like what President Isaiah Afwerki from Ethiopia mentioned during the Russia-Africa summit. So if you are not paying attention to what this murderous woman, this destructive woman, this bloodthirsty, blood-sucking woman, if you are not paying attention to what she was doing in Ukraine, then you are unlikely to notice her. You are unlikely to know her as an African. This is why it is very important that you pay attention as an African to geopolitics. Now, if you did not know what the United States was doing in Syria, that it has seized oil fields from Libya, it is occupying. The United States has never been called in Syria. It has seized oil fields there. It has never been called there. The government in Syria has never called it. It is illegal. It is there, is there illegally. But the so-called United Nations has never condemn the United States for invading a country and seizing its resources. And the United States is stealing Syria's oil right now, with the help, of course, the so-called apartheid Israel. They are there, and Israel has been bombing and even killing Syrian soldiers and Syrian people. So you ask, what does Israel want there? So they are working together in this robbery. Now, this robbery, they want to bring it to Africa, that chaos. So they want to use this strategy, fund this so-called rebel group, seize the uranium mines. And this is what the strategy they want to do. And then possibly divide Niger, because Niger is already a very big country. They will possibly divide Niger so that they can stay where they have the drone bases. And I want people to study this. I want people, this actually, I did not even think about it, what I'm saying, but I want people to understand, because we study these patterns. So, but they are likely to employ this as a next move. And we have to be very careful. That means as Africans, we have to be vigilant and we have to be supportive. We have to study and be supportive. We have to push the various governments. We have to push Niger, Burkina, and Mali to work together. Of course, Algeria also has said that it will come in and support if they try to attack. But if it is an internal issue of rebels, then it becomes very difficult for even Algeria to intervene. That is where it is tricky. That is where I see that there's a sinister hand of the United States behind. And this becomes very deadly. So we have to push our leaders, those who are progressive enough on the continent. We understand that various leaders are facing challenges, but we have bigger enemies. We have bigger enemies who are coming from outside and invading us. So that means we have to forget the small quarrels which we have in our individual states and tribalism, and first save the situation from the external aggressor. So we, the African people, the African society, and that is why we are here also paying. People like Ruto, people like Ramaphosa, whoever who has some progressive ideas towards a new Africa which we want, and stopping this external aggression of these colonizers and exploiters and and people who are just there to push the parasitic attitude and parasitic behavior. We have to be able to defend the continent from this attitude. So we have to mobilize all our resources, and we at Connect Africa here, we are doing our part, and that is why we asked you to be part of that journey and support us in that, what we are doing. And we said all those people who are going to support us, we will be sharing with you whatever we are doing, even the materials, the contacts which we have made. Because in the past, we have spoken to a lot of people. I remember this is something very secret, but in the past, around 2022, we had around the beginning of 2022, we had organized even to go to Mali starting 2022, and we were putting together a team. So those people were supporting us. They will be privileged to share in some of the inside information which you may have and secret information. So I want to thank you very much, Mahlet, and thank you very much, more so the people who are watching us and supporting the channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kwame. Hopefully the people will pay attention. That was really powerful, insightful. Thank you very much. We are blessed to have you here. Of course, you are a family. You are part of Connect to Africa. But I, as a person now, I am thanking you as a host, really for taking time to do your research, and always excited and very interested to come here and to share your view. We used to say a couple of weeks ago, before the Niger thing happened, it was a bi-weekly session for me and you here, but we are here now every day. We want to be here every day because there's a lot happening. Even as we cover the Niger thing, there are things on the other side that are going on. You know, the enemy do not sleep. Now they use this as a cover, and they are trying to push other things because they know that now everybody's talking about Niger. And I have said this again and again. We have Sudan. There are things also going on in Ethiopia. Although I'm from Ethiopia, it's crazy. It's something that needs to be covered as well. It's every day. It's not even enough. A person has to be here twice. If we are really fighting that narrative that's pushed by the Western media or their mainstream, then, you know, we should not sleep. They're not sleeping. And for that, it takes, we have to be equipped. We have to have that capacity. And that's why sometimes we ask you here and remind you if you can support us. That's really important for us to sustain it. But thank you very much. You can support us. You may support us financially with the links that I have shared, the PayPal account. That's better for us. And also, whatever you can always contact us through our email. And then even so more, please share the video, as we always say. Share as you are tuned here. Share it also when the streaming is over. Share it to everyone, meaning to your network that you know, that you think that this information is relevant to. Now, let me just continue in the comment section. We have been here for 1 hour and 37 minutes. As we said, we value your comments here. IMF and World Bank are Tinubu's best friends. They are best friends to most of our heads of states. There are some discussions that's going on between yourselves. Let me just pass that. Okay. Which could be a native language of Africa as a lingua franca. I know Swahili is one of the languages of the African Union. Okay, greetings. Oh, Sinovia, welcome. Greetings to everyone. I'm very late and I apologize. I will catch the replay. Yeah, you have to. There was a lot of good information here, but welcome. Okay, Lucas said, we are one, black, white. We are one, black, white, and anyone. The big people that govern French and all the work are not representative of the people, but they want to divide us, black, white, or anyone. There. Oh, I remember you said you are a French person. Okay. No, I'm glad. We are happy that you are here and you are sharing your view. I do appreciate that. Some of your things, your questions are I think answered here by the viewers here also. Okay, what is there is okay. Please check out what Kwame shared, the information about the rebel by the name Africa Reimagined. That is his YouTube channel. Also, go and subscribe. Sheikh Arabe, okay, you are answering to Lucas. Yeah, I think. Okay, Aaron, what are you saying? Westerners can do nothing in Africa without our sold out souls. It's a shame, and I don't know for how long are we going to be tricked and attack our siblings for their selfish interests. Yeah, that's what I said. I was saying yesterday, but was it Kwame? You were trying to explain some of the things becomes really unfathomable. But as you have been saying, it's a sophisticated tool that's implanted.
No, I tried to answer that question yesterday, but I cannot answer it in one sitting. So I need a full lecture on neocolonialism and to understand how the system is working,
Maybe you
because it's
should
a
do that
giant
on
machine.
that
It's
chapter
a giant
alone.
machine. So in for me to answer it in maybe in 5 minutes, some of the things, if you say them, people may even think that is a conspiracy theory, that the person has gone into a conspiracy theory. But it is all based on research. So that is why I need a lot of time to be able to push this information out there. There's just one person I would like you to look at, and I'll write his name in the comment section. He's called Franklin Jones. He just one part of that system is called social engineering. His service to the African people is of course the so-called African Americans, but I consider him as an African. And he served in the military in Iraq. He was a US Marine. And when he reached Iraq, he noticed that the United States was applying the same tactics on the Iraqi people of, brainwashing, which is so-called social engineering. He calls it social engineering. They use it tactically, they as a tactic, and then and they use it tactically, and they brainwash people to like the Americans and like the white people, so that people will not be hostile towards the white people who are exploiting them, who are killing them. So he wrote a book called The Black Matrix, and let me write his name. You can go to his channel, Franklin Jones, Franklin with K, Franklin Jones. That's my brother. So you can go to that channel, search for Franklin Jones on YouTube, and you will see his channel. He's telling you how the brainwashing level, because his channel is just dedicated to that task only, to point out to the African people, the Black people all across the world, how the brainwashing is done, how the programming is done. So it's a sophisticated system which involves social engineering, the attack on our education system, the attack on our political system, which happened, of course, in the 1960s, as we entered the era of independence. There was a huge attack on our political system. And of course, when you attack the political system, because it is the one which protects the country, then you have attacked everything. So you attack the political system, then you remove the leaders. Of course, that means removing leaders and putting your own leaders so that they can implement what you want. You attack the education system, you take over the military. If you look at a documentary called Oil and Blood, I think it's called Blood and Oil. It was done by Al Jazeera. There is where they speak about Nigeria and how it's called the Seven Sisters. The documentary is called The Seven Sisters and Blood and Oil, The Seven Sisters. It was done by Al Jazeera. The documentary is called The Seven Sisters. They speak about some of the activists in Nigeria. They speak about how Shell and all the other oil companies came to Nigeria and they have taken over the military. They have taken over the leadership of the country. And we see people like a dictator like Sani Abacha. He came to power and he killed the activists who were fighting for Nigerian interests. People like Kenny Sarowiwa, who was killed. And so what the activists are mentioning in Nigeria is that these companies, they take over the country and they buy the politicians. And because they are saying that they are the ones who are paying, Nigeria is depending on oil, for example. We have just picked up Nigeria as a case study. Majority of the revenue in Nigeria is coming from oil. So now these leaders, they cannot protest against these governments. And of course, they are these corporations working with the United States military. They are the ones who have put these leaders in power. So they are there to serve their interests. Now, the army of the country now becomes a property of the oil companies to protect the oil companies. So now the people cannot resist. And we saw that people in Nigeria were resisting. You can go and look at the Ogoni people in the Nigeria Delta under Kenny Saro-Wiwa. There was a movement. They were rising up to push out to these oil companies. And the oil companies went and spoke to Sani Abacha, who was a corrupt president, who was a corrupt leader in Nigeria, and he was being supported by the West. Released the army, working with the Shell to kill our people, and they hanged Kenny Saro-Wiwa, and he died. So that story is out there, and is also included in that documentary, which was done by Al Jazeera. And of course, these days we have started questioning Al Jazeera because the Europeans have invaded it. And the Americans, if you look at the people who are broadcasting today, that is why we have lost interest in Al Jazeera. We have lost faith in it because the Europeans have taken over. They have taken it over, even though it used to be somewhat balanced in its approach. But you can see that Al Jazeera participated in the war in Libya, pumping up the false narrative that Gaddafi is attacking his people. Al Jazeera participated. And even right now, you can see its approach right now, that even though it tries to be balanced, but we have already discovered that they are towards the West. They are now reporting for the West. So you can see the white people all over there, the Americans already inside in Al Jazeera. They are the ones who have taken over the network compared in the past to how it was. Now it is no more balanced. It's just skewed, and once in a while wants to appear as if he's supporting the Africans. So, of course, in the past, it did. I think they published that documentary. It was in 2014. So you can check it out. The documentary is called Seven Sisters. Nigeria has mentioned it. Now, what I'm trying to say is this. This is a sophisticated system, including the United States military, including the intelligence agencies, the CIA and the FBI, including the United States government itself, including the corporations, including the IMF and World Bank. It encompasses all these organizations, and including the mining corporations. So they are all integrated in working. Now, it includes also some religious sects like Jehovah's Witness and all these. Of course, I'm not trying to attack people who believe in this. You have your right to believe in whatever you want. But some of the religious sects were brought by this. Now, Nkrumah has cataloged this. Nkrumah wrote this in 1965 in a book called Neo-Colonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism. Even if you don't read the whole book called Neo-Colonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism, read one chapter called The Mechanism of Neo-Colonialism. This is where Nkrumah mentions everything concerning how neo-colonialism is working and how it is able to dominate a group of people to make them believe that they are in the democracy, that they are in a democracy, and yet they are not in a democracy. And that is what has happened to us. So that we have to break it. And over time, this system, of course, becomes weak. That is why Nkrumah said neo-colonialism is the last stage of imperialism, but it is the most dangerous stage. And that means what Nkrumah said, that when you get a chance, the only way to defeat it, one of the major ways of starting to defeat the system is that you expose it everywhere you see it. Every chance you get and you see the workings of neocolonialism, expose it. Whenever and wherever you see it, expose it that this is neocolonialism. So that is one of the things which Nkrumah has suggested. So even if you cannot read the whole book, read the chapter called Neocolonialism, the Mechanism of Neocolonialism. Read the chapter called The Mechanism of Neocolonialism. So I'm going to put that chapter, the link to that chapter in the comment section. Mechanism, it is available on Google, The Mechanism of Neocolonialism. So I'll put it in the comment section. Mahlet, you can take over, please.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So you said you're trying 5 minutes, but yeah, 10 minutes. I know this is still not not enough to, maybe we should organize one session for that thing because it always comes back. You refer a lot from Kwame Nkrumah's book, especially the Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism. So yeah, it would be nice if you can. And also I personally request if you can repeat the session where you presented about how IMF works. You remember? That's also something. Yeah,
Yeah,
it will
so
not
we shall
waste
come. We shall come and we'll repeat it.
yeah. Yeah, so we were going through the comments, and somebody said, "So true, Kwame. US is pissed. France is losing control." Sinovia asked, "How do we become the lion?" You're given only 2 minutes for this comment.
Yeah, so we have to we are already lions, but it's just because we are sitting down and we have been told that we are not lions. So this is the difference, that we have been sort of raised in a situation where we have been told that we are not lions. Now, the realization that we are lions, we have to understand where history has brought us from. About 600 years ago, they came and invaded the continent. They took the people. We spent in slavery about 300 years. From that, our people were able to fight out of it and come out of slavery alive, and our continent was still intact. Even though, of course, they had invaded, some groups had invaded the continent. We have some Europeans in the south who are claiming the land, but our people still stood strong. Unlike other continents like America, the indigenous people were wiped off. And of course, many of them were black, which is unfortunate. Indigenous people in Australia were wiped off the continent. Very few of them are remaining. These are Europeans, New Zealand, Canada, but Africa, we are still standing. So that means there is hope. But our people were able to fight throughout. So that means that we started making progress starting 1804 when Haiti got its independence. Now, when we come back to the 1960s, people like Marcus Garvey, they started fighting, because when we defeated slavery, contrary to what everyone tells you that they helped to stop slavery, Europeans and what, they stopped slavery because Haiti defeated them. The Haiti is the one who led to the stoppage of slavery after defeating it, after defeating the Europeans, defeating France, defeating Spain, defeating Britain. That is when slavery was stopped. Now, of course, when we defeated it, they instituted colonialism in 1884, 1885. Because remember, we defeated slavery in 1804. Now, they instituted colonialism 1884, 1885. So this is to tell you that these people are very serious about what they are doing. Now, when we fought against that in the 1940s, of course, starting with Honorable Marcus Garvey in the later part of the 19th century, who pumped up and woke up the African people to start defending their interests. And until we got Kwame Nkrumah and all the others, Haile Selassie, who fought all across the continent, we were able to reach a certain level that we took back some of the things. So to answer your question is that even though we were hijacked along the way, our independence was hijacked along the way. And Nkrumah, of course, had won that. And that is why I said he wrote the books down. But we also said that the struggle is very hard. The enemy is very strong, because remember, when Europe fell, the United States rose, and it was very strong. That time it had a lot of money. So it was very difficult, Africa without enough money, to fight against the United States during that period, if it was not united. As we saw that they sabotaged the independence of Africa very much in different ways. So it led our leaders to be divided, that they were not able to unify together. But the struggle was pushed so far that right now we are in a very opportune situation, that they were able to defeat all these evils. Now, where we are remaining, we took back a lot of things. Control over our minds, even though our minds are still being attacked, but we can decide right now, unlike the period of slavery, where we were not able to decide anything. If you look at slavery, during the slavery time, we were not able to decide on anything. They had control over our bodies. They had control over our minds. They had control over our lands. But to some extent today, we took back the control of our bodies. We took control over some parts of the land. And now the struggle which we are engaged in right now is the struggle of the mind now. We want to take back our mind so that we are not influenced by them. That is why they are constantly bombarding us and telling us that it is democracy, while it is exploitation that they are carrying out, and they are telling us that it's democracy. We should believe it. This is the mind. They are constantly attacking the mind. And that is what I told you, that you should go to the channel on YouTube called Franklin Jones and check out my brother from the United States. He has that channel, is about showing you how they are attacking our minds constantly. Now, that is the struggle which we are engaging. So when they constantly attack you in this way, then it becomes a stumbling block to your progress. And that is what they did. They hijacked our independence during the 60s, in 1966, by the overthrow of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, because I consider him the utmost fighter when it came to the struggle against imperialism. So when he was overthrown as the main strategist on the African continent, then the whole continent fell again a little bit, and fell backward a little bit. But it did not mean that we lost everything that we had gained. But now, if we do not fight this time, when imperialism has been weakened, it has been weakened by the resurgence of China as a powerful country. If you remember, it has been mentioned that China supported Africa during the independence struggle. So China has become much more stronger. That is why you are seeing the anxiety in the West. China has become stronger technologically, militarily, and there's a lot of anxiety. Now, these are all advantages for us. So we are very much close now. And you are seeing the consciousness. There's a lot of the rising consciousness of the African people, the youth. You are seeing that we were able to defeat the psychological warfare that was being imposed, that was being applied on Ethiopia. The Africans were able to defeat that psychological warfare. So that tells you that we are making progress, tremendous progress, and the time has arrived for us to act very quickly in that aspect. So for us to be able to arise again as lions, I think we are at that point now. We can be able to reason, we can be able to defend what we think, regardless of the propaganda and pumped ideology that is being forced on us, and the constant psychological attack that is happening to the African people. We are still able to come out and defend what we think and the ideas of our ancestors. So we are this much close. So what we need is to continue to work together. So within a period, I can tell you that within a period of 10 years, whenever people have woken up, within a period of 10 years, people see change. I'll give you an example. In 1947, that is when Nkrumah came back from England. In 1947, within a period of 10 years, because the people had woken up, if you remember the Manchester Conference, which happened in England, which was a Pan-African conference where revolutionaries came together and started talking to each other from Africa and the Caribbean. They wanted to take back the African continent for the African people. In a period of 10 years, 1957, it was 10 years, and Africa started getting independence. You know, Ghana got its independence under Nkrumah. So that is a period of 10 years. So it takes some period of consistent work after people have woken up. So what we are experiencing today has never been there for the last few years. You know, it is a special moment. And that is why you hear President Xi Jinping mentioned when he was in Moscow and he met President Putin, that what we are seeing today has never happened. These moments, they happen only in 100 years. It's a special moment. So we should take it, and we are the ones driving it. So that is why we have also been mentioning as Africans that this is a very special moment for us as Africans, and it needs us as Africans to only work together. And when we work together, the timing is right. We just have to mobilize our resources and then work together, support those people who are out there. We have never had it in a way that we can come to channels like this and express the African views. We can have more media platforms. Our ancestors did not have this. Nkrumah did not have media platforms where he would go and organize his fellow people in how to fight, because there was no radio, was very scarce. But these people were able to organize. So we have so much resources at our disposal compared to our ancestors. So this is a very good, opportunity, which has risen in our generation.
Thank you very much, Kwame. I said 2 minutes, so maybe that was 12 minutes or something. But no, it's because it's interesting, so I don't want to stop it. But also, our viewers, they should know that we are not here for the click and bait. We are here for the knowledge, so we don't want to limit it. That's why you see our videos, they go usually more than 1 hour. We bring a lot of talking points or discussions here. We hear suggestions from our friends, who think that the that our YouTube channel should generate income, and we should kind of strategize in a way it generates income, like limiting the time. But we cannot, we simply cannot. I cannot limit the knowledge flow here. We are here really to, if we are here to conquer that narrative and bring the Pan-African perspective, it cannot be by limiting the time. So it's up to you to take the information, you filter it. You should do also your own reading and research, and then take really what makes sense for you. So in that regard, I feel like we all are here in class. I see you as not students, but students in a master class where everybody sit in a seminar way, and you contribute. We might be taking the leading, but everybody has his or her own contribution. So that's
Yeah,
why
Mahlet, please, can you put that thing for me there so that the people can look at? This is something which I wrote in 2020, and of course, it is looking at history in perspective and how these cycles happen, these revolutions happen.
But you start
What,
before you start to explain that. Let me just go through that thing. When I'm done, you how long will it take? You are going to present
no,
it?
it will take a lot of time, so we will come next time and talk about it. But I just
You
wanted
just want to
people,
highlight. Okay, send
yes,
for.
let people study it. Let people study it, and then we will come another time to try to explain it, what it means. But when you look at it, you'll be able to get something out of it. What I'm trying to say, what I've been trying to explain, that these things, they happen in cycles and they have periods. So you can even predict. When you look at history, you can predict. If you look at people like Ray Dalio, who is an investor, is one of the richest people in the world, worth more than $21 billion. He uses history to invest. He understands the cycles. And if you look at him also across the media platforms, he has been saying that something is happening right now, which is special. The world is changing, and even wrote a book actually called The Changing World Order, How Nations Rise and Fall. So that book, I think also you can go out there. If you are a good reader, you can look at that book by Ray Dalio called Principles of Understanding the Changing World Order and How Nations Rise and Fall. So he has spoken about this moment. And of course, we have said Xi Jinping also, President Xi Jinping of the whole China has said that this moment is special. And he said it, I think, this year when he visited, or last year when he visited Moscow. This, I wrote it in 2022. So for me, when I hear these people saying this, it just confirms for me what I had speculated a long time after reading our history, because I got this after reading our history from people like Kwame Nkrumah, George Padmore, reading a lot of Chika Anta Diop. There's a certain gentleman who wrote the book called The Black Jacobins. CLR James is called CLR James. So all these things, they are happening, and there are cycles of events which are happening. And so that's why we as Africans, we have to take this moment. And I want to repeat, President Xi Jinping, when he was in Moscow, said that the changes that are happening, they have never happened in 100 years. And we are the ones who are driving it. And every time these opportunities, when they have risen, it is the opportunities Africans also have used. And of course, they have been overcoming tremendous challenges. If you look at the challenge of slavery. What the slaves who did not have any business, did not have any land, did not have control even over their bodies, what did they use to beat France, Spain, and England? In San Domingo, in the present day Haiti, what did they use? They just used whatever they had, sticks, machetes, everything, whatever they had. So that is why I say that today we have so much resource that there's no excuse for us not to liberate ourselves from these colonials. We can defeat them. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Kwame. I think I lost where I was reading the comments. Okay, so CNS, by their own reports, up to 90% of the people hit by drones are hit by mistake. I think it's a continuation of something. Maybe I'm just reading with one leg of it. Nuland is Stratcat 2000. Welcome. Nuland is a part of the swamp in DC that needs to be purged and hopefully jailed. Well, we hope so too. The British drew soldiers from Jamaica to put down the Ashanti rebellion. It's an old trick that blacks continue to fall for. African power, white tribes have been slaughtering each other for more thousands of years. Oh, somebody's replying to African power. White tribes have been slaughtering each other for more thousands of years. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I think we leave it. Aaron says, believe or not, the West will do the same like they are doing in Syria, which is an explicit grabbing of territories in Africa if we don't wake up as soon as possible, and no one is going to stop them. Yeah, the emperor says, how many French or Franks were killed against the Germanic tribes of Germany in World War II? Let's discuss your tribal wars. Okay. Imagine if Israel was successful getting to put a homeland in Uganda. They would have turned Uganda into an apartheid state, killing Africans on their soil. Ken Marcus Amadi, teach brother, teach. That's for you, Kwame. Okay. Welcome, by the way, Ken Max and Stratcat 2000. All of you, welcome. When we see new names, we say welcome. Regime change Karen in modern parlance. A Karen, in quotes, is a middle-aged woman who uses her privilege to get her way or police other people's behaviors. Shirley said, just joined, so I will return later from the beginning. Okay, we Africans have to sustain the pressure. Connect Africa must consolidate with other independent Pan-African independent media. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Nigerian army will act as a proxy force of the corporation of imperialists. Unfortunately, but we hope that they will come back to their senses. Aaron, yes, I am here. You say Mahlet. Okay. Many war. What you're talking about, Rainbow? I am okay. Lucas, you are returning for something. Some things are crazy. Okay, this is Lucas with your all views, where you are entitled for your views, but. Can you discuss about the pros and cons of the African organization, either continental or regional? Of course, a schedule for next time. Okay, this is a second suggestion. Kwame, can you jot it down? Somebody also said the first one was about that big technologically advanced embassy in Nigeria. This one is the second one. to talk about AU and continental organization, their pros and cons of continental organization, or the REX, the regional ones.
Yeah, that's the topic I would like to talk about gladly. I like that topic. I would like to go into the historical
Okay.
context
There
of
you
the
go.
region
So,
of
Aaron, you
continental.
have it. And Snovia, I'm sure Kwame has answered your question and you are satisfied with it, hopefully. The emperor says, how many did Austrian, Italian, Spanish, Vandals of Spain, Anglo-Saxons, Russian, etc. did your Frankish Napoleon kill in? Oh, okay. You guys are okay. You are communicating corresponding with Lucas. Okay. A look into the structural adjustment programs would make a good topic. The SAPs are finding their way back now in the name of austerity measures.
Yeah, we did a program here. We did a program on the International Monetary Fund and the IMF. I mean, we did a program on International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, but we can repeat it. Maybe Mahlet too can rebroadcast that program. I don't know whether it's possible to rebroadcast that.
It was combined with something, and I will watch it back because you yourself, I don't know, for some reason you said you would like to do it again, but yeah, we can talk about
Yeah.
it.
We can redo it again so that our people can enjoy it, and then we actually have also a slide to help you to understand very well the workings, how they are working, and of course all these things which I'm telling you, Nkrumah has spoken about them in the book Neo-Colonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism. Nkrumah has mentioned them all. Okay. So, but we will do the program. We will do the program.
All right. Tribalism is not unique to Africa, but the solution, like with all our other problems, will be found and implemented by us. 100%, I agree. We don't need lectures from those who profit from fermenting our divisions. Very true. Would you please indicate Telegram groups and channels? Sheikh Arabi, you asked this before. What do you mean by that? You want us to create one, or I did not?
I think he wants us to create some. He wants us to create some channels.
But
so
yeah,
maybe
let us know here again before we leave if that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. So also, Mahlet, I've shared into the comment section. I've put the chapter, the mechanisms of neocolonialism, the book which I spoke about, Neocolonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism. Yeah, so I've put that chapter is the chapter 18, but I've put also the introduction as the first. So people can find the two chapters in there and read about Nkrumah, what he's talking about, how they work together. People were asking, how can we fight it? You have to fight it after you have understood it. Hollywood is part of the whole cartel, and all of these things Nkrumah has spoken about to them in his book. Hollywood, religion, and how they have attacked all the systems in Africa in order to entrench themselves in there. So that is the only way you can be able to understand. So you can understand it. I can explain it here briefly, only briefly, but I cannot explain everything because it is a lot. So, but that book, what I've sent in the link in the comment section, there are two links. You can go out there and read for yourself so that you don't take it as rumor, as gossip, as if maybe I'm saying lies or something. We are talking about things which were written by one of the greatest Pan-Africanists that the planet has ever seen, who's Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, one of the greatest revolutionaries the planet has ever seen. Actually, when he published the book, the Americans protested against it, and even they burnt the book across Europe and the United States because the book was exposing how they are working. You see, so that is how important this book. Anyone who can get the book and read it. You can Google it on the internet, and then you can get it on Google and find it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kwame. And all of you here, really, I
We
see.
have to go. We have to go
Yeah,
because if we
we
don't
have
go,
to go.
we will stay
Yeah,
here
yeah,
the whole
yeah.
night. There's so
But
much to talk about.
definitely, but there is really a lot. I see many names, new ones. Sonko, thank you very much. Welcome again. And the thing is, our chat is activated, so you can see it. Also, when the streaming is over, and what Kwame said, the books, the names he suggested, any chat that comes from Africa Reimagined, that's Kwame, and that's also his YouTube channel. Go and subscribe. But also, yeah, pay attention the links, the book names, the links, the chapters that he puts there. Yeah, a lot of information. But as Kwame said, we have to go. Thank you very much, all of you who have been here. Don't forget before you leave, really, sometimes we watch a video and we might forget to subscribe, but not pressure, no pressure, but it will help us. It will help the algorithm for us. So we appreciate if you can subscribe, give it a like, of course, if you find it relevant, and then please share the video. Please share the knowledge. Do not keep it only for yourself. We have to empower each other through knowledge. And thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. We will see you again tomorrow. Am I right, Kwame?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Bye. That was it for us. Thank you. Ciao, ciao. Bye. Have a good evening.